3 times 10 times 30. There you go. What is 3 times 10? 30. So this is just another way of writing this one. 3 times 10 times 30. Now we can do 3 times 30, and we know that that's what? 90. And now we have 90 tens, and 90 tens equals how much? I want you guys to look at this. 90 tens. If I put 90 there and 0 here,
900.
that's so we're using the place value model. Making sense? And not so much, right? Sorta. All right. On average, a refrigerator door is open 38 times each day. About how many fewer times in May is the Smith family refrigerator door open than the average person? So the Smith family has about 900 times. The average family has 38. What would 38 round to?
40.
I want everybody sure, because I see people, I think people are still like in picture mode. What does 38 round to? 40. And we have 31 days in the month, so that rounded to?
30.
31 rounds to? 30. Okay. Now we're going to do 4 times 3.
12.
And we're not just going to add the zeros, because we don't just add the zeros. But we know that this one was times 10, so that makes this 120. And this one was times 10, so it makes it 1,200. So this is the average family. This is the, was it a Smith? Smith was 900. And the question says, about how many fewer times in May is the Smith family's refrigerator door open than the average? So how am I going to find about how many fewer times? What function should I do? I want you to think of it before you just start yelling it out. Raise your hand when you know which function I'm going to do to figure out the difference of that. How many fewer times they open. Most people would be about 1,200. The Smith family is about 900. How am I going to find out how many fewer times they were? Only about 5 of you know. What am I going to do, class?
Subtract.
We're subtracting. We're not finding a total. We're finding out how many fewer. Fewer gives you a clue, because fewer is going to be a lower number. Okay? So then I'm going to subtract. That's the answer. The Smith family opens a refrigerator about 300 times fewer than the average family. Okay? All right. Oops, I didn't have you write it. This was 900. And then here we did 40 times 30. Go ahead and write it. And this was... So it's not being very prepared, is it? Where's your pencil? Shh. Go ahead and write it. You don't have any pencils? Here. Sarah does ceramics at school. Like make things out of ceramic. This is what she's made. Hold on. Yeah. You can't really see very good, huh? It's pots. There's pots and cups. Sarah's the one that's a cheerleader. Okay, so you guys should be finished writing that down now. Okay, so we're going to swap pages. And our pencils are back down and listening. All 24 light bulbs in the Parch family home are CFL light bulbs. Do we care what CFL means? No, it doesn't really matter. It's just that's a kind of light bulb. Each CFL light bulb uses 28 watts to produce light. About how many watts will the light bulb use when turned on, all turned on at the same time? Okay, so how many light bulbs do they have?
24.
Okay, I need everybody participating. How many light bulbs do they have?
24.
And what is their watt? How many watts does each of the light bulbs have? 28. Are we multiplying these numbers out or are we estimating?
Estimating.
What word gives me the clue? About gives me the clue that we're going to be estimating. Okay. So if I have 24 light bulbs and they're all 28 watts and I want to know the total watts, I'm going to multiply these numbers to find out how many watts. And I'm using about, so I need to be rounding first, both numbers, and then multiplying. I hear somebody's pencil going. So 24 rounds to, oh, they've actually done a friendly number. They haven't rounded it to a 10. They're rounding it to a friendly number. Because 25 is easy to multiply. Remember, we think quarters. Okay, so 24 is rounded to 25, and 28 rounds up to 30. Okay, so when we're thinking in our head this multiplication, we're thinking 3/4. How much is 3/4 worth? 75 cents, right? So that's where we come up with the 75. And now we're multiplying that by the 10 because this was actually a 30, not a 3. And we should have what number here? What number goes here?
750.
Okay. Let's look at, that's what we're saying compatible, I call it friendly. Compatible numbers. So sometimes you can round, don't forget, sometimes you can round to a number that's going to be easier to multiply by. If I was going to do that in my head, that's exactly what I would have done. 25 times 30. Because I can do that in my head and know that it's 750. All right. Round to the near, okay, so estimate 26 times $79. What do you think we should round 26 to?
35.
Let's try 25 because it's so close to 25. Okay. What would 79 round to? 8? 80. Okay. Now here's one of those compatible friendly numbers, we're going to call it. We have 25 times 8. Think quarters. How many quarters in a dollar?
4.
4 is, what if we have 8 quarters? How many dollars is that? $2. So that actually, we're not doing dollars, we're doing numbers. So $2 would look like this, right? With a decimal point, but it's not really a decimal point because we're not working with quarters. So it's 200. That was when I did 25 times 8. Right? So 25 times 8 is 200, but we have times 10. So what is my final answer going to be?
2,000.
It will be 2,000 because this is really like saying 200 times 10. And 200 times 10 is 2,000. Is about 2,000. Right. So what our question here is 26 times $79 is about 2,000 what? Dollars. Yeah, I almost missed that. Yeah, it's just asking. It's the same thing. Oh, it's over here. That's why. They're doing it a different way. Using round to the... Oh, I see, huh? Miss Harris read it wrong. I did them backwards. This would be... Here, let's do this. Okay, so 26 to 25, and 26 is going to be close to 25. 79 is going to round to 80. Are you laughing at me? 26 is going to round to 20, or 26 is close to 25. 79 is going to round to 80. We know that 4 times 25 is 100, so 8 times 25 is going to be 200, and then times the 10 is 2,000. So 26 times $79 is about $2,000. Okay, this one was rounding to the nearest 10. 26 rounds to what number?
30.
And 79 rounds to?
80.
So 3 times 8 is?
24.
24 times the 10 here is? 240 times the 10 that's from here is?
2,400. 24 hundreds.
Okay. Explain why 2,400 and 2,000 are both reasonable estimates. I want you to think about why are both of those reasonable estimates for 26 times $79. Think about why, because they're both reasonable. Why might they both be reasonable? And go ahead and write it in a sentence form for yourself. So we were using an estimate because our word problem said about how many watts will the light bulbs use when turned on at the same time. So we were rounding. There was 24 light bulbs. They were 28 watts each, and we were rounding each of those numbers to a friendly or a compatible number to multiply with. So we rounded 24 to 25 and 28 to 30. And then we did thinking 25 times 3 equals 75. We do that with quarters. 25 is the amount of a quarter times 3. 3/4 is 75 cents. So 25 times 3 is 75. And then if we multiply that by the tens that we have here, we have 750. So about 750 watts. Okay. Then we had an estimate with 26 times 79. And we were going to round to the nearest 10 first. 26 rounds to what nearest 10? 30. And 79 rounds to what nearest 10? 80. So we can think 8 times 3 is 24 times the tens that we have here times the tens that we have here. So 2,400. 26 times $79 is about $2,400. Okay? We can also estimate using compatible numbers and rounding the 26 to 25. This will be an even closer estimate because it's only 1 away from 25, where this one's actually 4 away from 30. Do you see the difference there? This is 4 away from it. This is only 1, so this will be a closer estimate. So 25 times 80, and we know that we think 25 times 8 is like $2. 25 cents times 8 quarters is about $2, or is $2. So we think of 25 times 8 is 200. And then we add the times times 10 from here, and we have 2,000. Okay? So 26 times 29 is about $2,000. And then we explained why 24,000 and 2,000 are both reasonable estimates. Do you have a question?
I don't know where you got this zero from 200.
From 200 here, because I was multiplying 25 times 8. 25 times 8 gives me 200, like $2. 200, and then I have to multiply it times the tens that I didn't multiply by yet there. So I have to put that in here at the end. Okay. So then we explained it, and you guys all had great explanation. We also talked about situations where we might have an estimate, where an estimate might work better than an actual number. And then I think we left off, did we do number 1? Look at your books and see if number 1's there. No? Okay. So number 1, to estimate the product of 62 and 28 by rounding, how would you round the factors? What would the estimated product be? So first we're going to just start with, if it's saying find the product, what do I have to do with those two numbers? Multiply them. So I'm going to round 62 to what number?
60.
60. And what would 28 round to?
30.
30. Go ahead and write it and find the product. Yes. 180. Okay, so let's go step by step. What's the first thing I need to multiply?
6 times 30.
6 times 3. I need to multiply the 6 times 3. What is the 6 times 3?
18.
18. Now I'm going to multiply it by this tens, and I'm going to multiply it by this tens. So my answer should be 1,800. Okay. All right, go ahead and other side. Oh, we did that one yesterday. Estimate the product and choose a method. If I'm going to multiply 96 times 34, are there any compatible numbers that I should multiply by? Are there any that I could round just one and make it easy to multiply by? Which number? I only need to multiply. I only need to round one to get a really good estimate. Which one should I round to get a really good estimate? What do you think?
96.
And what would the 96 round to? 100. Can I do this easily?
Yes.
I don't need to round the 34 to 30 because I can get a pretty good estimate just by rounding the 96. When I do that, I do 34 times 1. Now I'm going to times that by the 2 zeros, basically the hundreds, and I get 3,400. Okay, so there you go, 3,400. What about number 3? I want you to think about it first before you're raising your hand. What numbers do you think you will round? Will you round both? Will you round one? Will you round to a friendly number? How will you round these to multiply? What do you think will be the best way? Okay, what did you decide? Owen. Round both? Okay, what did 47 round to? Did I say 57? What is 39 round to? $40, right? And now we're going to multiply 5 times 4 equals what, class? 20. Multiplied by the tens here, multiplied by the tens here. And we get $2,000. Don't forget the dollar sign. Okay, looking at number 4. 80 times 70. And what is 8 times 7, think? What is it?
56.
56. And I'm going to multiply it by what from here?
The 2 zeros.
No. I'm going to multiply it by 10 from this 10. And then I'm going to multiply it by 10 from this 10. And then I have 5,600. Okay, down at the bottom here it asks you the question, how do you know if an estimate of the product will be greater or less than the exact amount? So if I multiply 96 by 34, and I multiply it out, how do I know if it's going to be less than or greater than 3,400? I want you all thinking about that. Look at the problem. We estimated by rounding up to 100. I want you to think, is the actual answer going to be less than or more than the estimate? I want you to think. Okay, raise your hand if you think that the actual will be less than 3,400. Raise your hand if you think it will be more than 3,400. Okay, it will actually be less than. Do not say yes. It will be less. The actual will be less than 100. I mean, less than 3,400. The reason is because this is less than what we use to multiply by. If the number if you're rounding up, then your estimate is going to be higher than your actual. If you're rounding down, then your estimate is going to be lower than your actual. What if you're rounding one number up and one number down? Is that going to be as easy to predict? No, that's going to be a little harder to predict. But if you're rounding both of them up, you know that your actual will be less. If you're rounding both of them down, you know that your actual will be more. Okay? Because you're not multiplying by all of the numbers. So we gave this 4 extra when we did our estimate. So we know that our estimate is actually going to end up being more than our actual. Yes?
On number 4, one number is like rounded up and one down. Does that mean it's still like greater than?
Well, the problem is that this one's rounded up by 2 and this one's rounded down by 2, but they don't balance each other out. So it's hard to know just by looking at it to figure it out. It's hard to say, yes, it should be greater or it should be less than.